Able.
Hey, Matt, what a Christmas miracle. UFC 232 is coming your way to close out the year. I honestly don't know how to feel about it. I know you're happy about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was unexpected. I'm definitely, excited that such a huge card is coming close to me, but at the same time, we got to look at this from my non fan side definitely has to look at it and go, what the hell's going on with the UFC? Um,
So, did you read the full statement from USADA
I read as much as I needed to read. We know what's going on here. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I'm just, I kind of, I'm still like shocked by it. That's why I was like, I mean, you and I were already texting each other, and then I was just like, yo, do you want to do a reaction piece to this? Because, I mean, I feel like I got joy. That's the message I got from you as I was reading your text that you were happy about it, whereas I was just kind of like, I'm just like, I'm in shock. So
well, you got to realize that I've been to 48 UFC events. I don't miss too many of them that are in Las Vegas.
yeah.
So, with that said, this is one that I held off on, um, you know, financial reasons and just kind of just, Vegas around that weekend's hectic as hell. But, and then the Fedor fight, I am going to the Fedor fight in a couple weeks. So, I guess I can say Fedor kind of saved me from booking. Uh, tickets and flights and hotel and everything. Even if I drove out to Vegas, it's still the gas is still a good chunk of money. So it just kind of worked out for LA fans. I know that LA fans of the UFC, um, had the event 233 get canceled. So this is kind of redemption for them. Although it is short notice and perhaps not the best time for people to come up with money to buy a ticket the day after Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, the UFC just released something on their Fight Pass like 25 years thing about what was it UFC when they put the ban on MMA in New York, how they had to relocate last minute. So it's like history is repeating itself, but it's not for anything that anybody's doing but their, I guess, their fighter. I mean, I they said it's 60 picograms. Yeah, just looking at the chat. Somebody from MMA community just jumped in. Please chime in. Me and Matt are just doing a quick reaction of it, but yeah, I'm just like, I don't know, man. I mean, where are they going to go in LA? Do we know yet?
It's going to be at the Forum, the same
Okay.
place the Bellator event is. So right off the bat, for me, that means it's going to be cheaper than Staples Center. Staples Center is a higher priced venue. So historically, a good seat at the Forum for a UFC event, like UFC 199, was about 125, $150. So I'm thinking that $100 is going to get you a good seat for this event. I know Dana White said that they were expecting a $6 million gate in Vegas, and now that seems to be dropping to a estimation of 1 million. So if you do the math on that, that means ticket prices are going to drop, in theory, 1/6. Now, most of that will come off the top price tickets. In Vegas you had $1,200 seats. Here it'll be that'll drop down to about a 600.
Hmm.
I don't think they're going to let people in the door for $25, but I imagine instead of it being 190 to get in the door, which is what it was for Vegas. Now I'd guess you're looking at more like $60 to get in the arena, in a smaller arena than what we were what T-Mobile is in Vegas. So I don't know. Like I said, for me it gives me something to do, especially with the I'll straight say it bullshit that we're getting out of Ryzen for that weekend. So
Hmm.
it gives us that. And
Well,
when I
I
say
mean, it's like a nice way for to close out the new year, I guess, for the weekend right before New Year's Eve. I mean, not every. I'm obviously for me, it's Pro Fight League because that's what's happening here on the East Coast. But you guys are, you guys are just. I mean, that's like a nice little gift for you, especially. Now you got something to do rather than go to a bar and watch it. You get to go to the actual event, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean the event's loaded. It's a loaded card,
Yeah.
so it would be I can't pass it up. I mean, even if it was just to go watch guys like BJ Penn and Arlovsky, and I mean you got Cyborg Nunes. I mean, even if they canceled John Jones altogether and still had the rest of that card, it would still be a solid card.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's just
So
it's
the thing of it is what was I gonna say? The last minute change. I just lost my train of thought on we were gonna do well, we already did our prediction piece, so at least the as far as we know, the fights are holding together, and it looks like the last thing I read was that they're gonna do everyone's still going to Vegas, and then they're gonna do a charter plane from Vegas to LA. So I don't know. It's like that's a hell of a way to close out the year.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a nightmare. It's got to be a nightmare, and I feel bad for the fighters. I see Megan Anderson is commenting that she had to find out the news on the internet.
Yeah.
Um,
Looks like Ben Askren did the same way too.
yeah, but he's not fighting in the event.
Well,
He's
but
he's.
but he was going to go there to
Oh yeah, I mean, he has tickets or he's
yeah,
given ticket. However the heck that's working
some
out for them.
promotional nonsense.
The sad part is the people that I'm seeing from the UK that have New Year's trips planned for Vegas. Um, you know, depending on when you're doing an international flight like that, you're probably not getting a refund. Um,
No.
this isn't Southwest where they'll give you credit and all that stuff like that. So you're not pulling that off. And Vegas, you can if you think that something's going down, you're not going to get a cancelable room. So right off the bat, you're probably out several $100s on a room. Um, the event itself. I mean, now I guess if that's the case, now you're looking at either renting a car and driving 4.5 hours to LA, or looking for another flight to jump to LA for the night and then come back. And I mean, I don't know. It's chaos. And um, like I said, I really dodged a bullet not doing it. And it's close for me. And I'm sure I could have got a lot of refunds that a lot of other people wouldn't have been able to get because of the fact that it's so close. And
Yuri
you know,
just chimed in. He said he's glad Nunes Cyborg is the main event. Might be the best MMA female fight ever. Very fitting they get the New Year's Eve. That's what Cyborg deserves. I agree. I mean, if that's the move that they're making, I mean, it's literally been 40 minutes since the news broke, right?
so did well. Is Jones is still fighting, right?
Yeah, yeah. I guess
So I mean, unless he's seeing breaking news right now that I'm not seeing yet.
yeah. I
So
mean, we're recording it live, so pretty sure he is. But either way, man, I don't. It's the title fight should be the main event if we're gonna if that's the format they've been following. So why not? But poor Alexander Gustafsson coming all the way from Sweden. Like I mean, I'm sure he's there already getting acclimated or whatever. But I'm just like Jesus. We were just saying when we were recording our predictions that's going to come out on Christmas. We were saying that we hope the card sticks together and nothing crazy happens. But I feel like, I mean, do you think this will affect odds or anyone's performance having to do the extra travel in any kind of way?
I wouldn't blame it on travel. Because it's not really much. If they're putting someone on a plane, I mean, you're looking at literally an hour flight. So it's not as if that's anything major. I do think that it's going to affect perhaps some of the just preparations. You have people that have their corner. How many people have a ton of family coming out to Vegas for New Year's Eve weekend?
Yeah,
Now all of a sudden a fighter, and it's not going to affect necessarily the top priced or top paid, top shelf fighters. But if let's say you're one of the preliminary fighters, somebody like Curtis Millender or something like that. I mean, he's from the Southern California area, so he might have a giant group of people going to Vegas, and now it turns around that it's actually a fight that's 30 minutes from his house. So who knows how much money is invested in that trip. And I am seeing some stuff that yeah, it looks like the Axis is the ticket agency that was selling AXS tickets,
yeah,
was selling it. And I see a note here. It says all ticket purchasers will be refunded a full at their original point of purchase. Please allow 7 to 10 business days to get your credited money back. So on
yeah,
top of that, let's say you've got 5 tickets at $400 a piece. That means you got $2,000 now sitting in limbo. And most people obviously can't come up with another several $100s to be able to buy tickets the day after Christmas. While with all that money sitting out there, so it's gonna hurt. I'm curious to see what happens. It's with it being such a loaded card. I imagine the crowd will be
Yeah.
solid, but I just it seems so crazy to me. It seems so crazy to where we've ended up with the
Well,
UFC recently.
yeah, I mean, I was just about to say, I mean, you look at that, they had to do a pull of Thanos and dissolve UFC 233, and now the event just before it is going through this. I think that's why they're going this route so that they don't lose another pay per view, especially at this time of year when the move to ESPN is happening. You got all these people that you got new money coming in and new investors that are expecting to get their money back, and stuff like this happen. It's not a good look for people that are invested on the business side. I mean, I honestly, I feel like the fans haven't been a priority in this year, at least in the recent year. I mean, you look at the pay-per-views that fell apart and or events that fell apart and stuff like that. It's just I want to say it hasn't been a good year for the UFC.
No, it certainly hasn't, and this is an interesting way for it to end. I guess my biggest thing about the UFC would be where does this tell us they're at when whether Jones is guilty or innocent of this, whether it's somehow a drug is still in the system from 18 months ago or not. Um, where are we at where the UFC, especially with such a loaded card, has to do this? Um, I talked about it on our show with Nolan about the UFC just not having enough superstars, and it's
Yeah,
like they got to go out. They got to. They're moving an entire event from Vegas. They're moving it from their quote unquote home crowd, people that have supported the UFC for 20 years in that town. Um, on New Year's Eve, I mean, this could heavily backfire. You're going to have a lot of people that thought that this would never happen. I know UFC 151 got canceled in Vegas, but that was kind of a September event. This is a big deal for that town and for the people there and for people that travel. I just can't believe that they would reschedule an entire event um, to save John Jones. And like I said, if he's innocent, then you still poll him. You do the research and the investigation needed. Um, you know, I hate to be morbid, but what if he does something seriously hurts Gustafson in this fight?
yeah.
What if we get a situation where Gustafson isn't the same after this fight? Not because of a normal fight situation, but I don't know. I mean, I hate blaming steroids for that kind of stuff or PEDs, but you open yourself up to quite a lawsuit of something if something in my mind were to happen. Um, it just seems weird that the kind of the connection lately with the UFC and the California Athletic Commission as well. They got so much heat over Chuck Liddell fighting, and he got knocked out, but no different than any other fighter that we've seen really in the history of fighting. And he's got it, and UFC seems to have almost pressured California into giving him an indefinite suspension, basically a lifetime suspension, so he can never fight again. And now, a matter of 3 weeks later, we're getting moved to they're moving an event to LA with a guy who won't get. I mean, when have you ever heard that? California won't let a guy fight if he's under suspension in Nevada, but all of a sudden Nevada won't license a guy because he tests positive in their state.
You
I'm
know
seeing
what,
I'm
man?
seeing that they flew him in a private jet to California to drug test him, and in California he tested clean, so they're okay with it. I
You
mean,
know what? I mean, I guess if you want something to happen, you'll find a way to make it happen if you got the money to make those types of moves. That's all I can say on that. I honestly, I don't know, man. I honestly just it's weird, and people that when you look at the days in boxing when people were crying corruption and all that, and people were crying, say it now with the way bouts are judged and stuff like that. But when you see stuff like this, like you can't say with what's going on in not I don't want to say all of MMA, but obviously the handling of this. I mean, there's definitely a good old boys network. And I don't know. I guess John Jones is in the network in that club. I mean, they're saying it's such a small amount, but people keep saying USADA don't work, USADA don't work. So, you know what, man? Just go back to the way it was before you brought in this USADA nonsense, because then it'd be a non-issue. Nobody would care. It'd be the back, the horse meat days or whatever you want to call it, where people are just like, it is what it is. I mean, the fights still happen. Nobody cares about this stuff. Everyone wants to see the fights, apparently, and you're gonna make them happen if you really need them to happen. So
Yeah, I mean, you're preaching to the choir as far as
yeah.
PED testing goes. I'm not somebody who's, this sport was built on PEDs. I hate to say it, but it really was.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's funny you're saying that, because we keep talking about Lee Daly's book, and he mentions that in the book too when you're talking about the heyday of Pride. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, I just think it's all funny how it works. I mean, you got guys like Tom Lawler, who's commenting. He got a 2-year suspension for testing positive for 15. I don't know, what are they, Aaron picograms of of the drug, and and he got a 2-year suspension. They're saying a picogram is 1/trillionth of a gram. So he basically tested positive for I mean, just microscopic amount, and he got a
Yeah.
2-year suspension. Jones test positive. I don't know if it was 1 Aaron picogram or 15 Aaron picograms, but he's got some picograms in his system.
No shade on Aaron Pico.
No,
Obviously,
no,
that kid probably, if anything, that means that Aaron Pico's so strong they take pieces of Aaron Pico and turn it into performance enhancing drugs for other fighters. That's how good he is.
Bellator's shooting everybody up with Aaron picograms to get the fights moved. But and then the other thing is that we saw earlier this week that John Jones turned down the opportunity to do the VADA testing, or the VADA testing, which is somebody who's not connected at all to USADA and the UFC, and really in the pockets of the commissions. So I find it odd that he would turn that down, and then it's unbelievable. And I guess I'll be happy. Events in my backyard. I can go now, and it's a huge card, great fights. Makes me want to see John Jones lose that much more now.
Yeah,
I mean, I
guess.
don't know.
Yeah.
It may, in a perfect world, I would make his fight the co-main event just to kind of slap him in the face a little bit.
Yeah, but yeah, you know what though? The thing of it is too, it's the cleanup on this. They're gonna have to do a lot of housekeeping, even just to keep the event. I mean, just to keep the event going, like the aftermath of it. What do you think the post-fight press conference is going to be? No matter who wins or loses, it's going to be why did you move it here? Why did you do that? Why didn't you just change the main event? You know what I mean? Like that's all that's going to be. That's going to be the news of the week now.
Yeah, no, you're no doubt. I see Michael Chiesa commenting that everything's total. He just found out about it.
You can't stop saying that man's name.
I try not to. It just keeps popping up. But yeah, I mean, it's just. I mean, there's quite an outrage really online. I think people are just in shock, and like I said, everybody's got their stuff booked. So I don't know. I really don't even know what to say about it. This is kind of this has never really happened before. I know early in the UFC days, in the UFC 12, and
Yeah.
maybe like 16 events were moved last minute because of licensing and legality issues with all the events. But never before have we seen this done. And like I said, if this was an event in the middle of September or something, it would be easier to understand. But for it to be what used to at least be their kind of the crown jewel event. I know that the last previous to 230, that's kind of become the Garden event in November. But this is still this is a huge card, arguably their best card that they put together all year, and it's really strange.
Yeah, you don't want to screw those guys out of the fights that they have signed, all the preparation that they do too. But I guess so now we both have within days apart. I mean, I'll be covering the Pro Fight League open workouts and all that stuff that weekend. So I'll be watching it in the bar, but you'll be there, so folks can follow you on Twitter. And I know you'll be good putting up photos and stuff.
Yeah, I'll be there taking photos. I mean, I'm not going as media, so I gotta pick up some tickets.
Yeah.
But so that's obviously still to be determined how that's going to all work out. I don't know if it's only refunds for people. I see comments about possibly trying to accommodate people who don't want to get refunds and use their tickets to go to LA, but I don't see how they're in this such short amount of time you're going to be able to structure the arena to match other people's tickets. And it seems
Yeah.
like that's going to be way too much chaos, especially I don't think the people at Ticketmaster are going to be working overtime on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day
No,
to
that's the
to
other thing
accommodate.
too. Yeah, I mean I guess that's why they said Wednesday, because who's doing the cleanup for this? I mean, with all the other businesses that you work with to put your business to hold this event, like you and then you only have a few days to get it ready for Saturday. This is crazy. I know they're probably thinking we've been through worse. We've done it before. And now they have more money now to do it. But I mean, I think long term it's not a good look, man. It's people are going to think twice about spending their money in 2019. I think for other events, at least in that first quarter.
Well, I mean, I'd like to look into it and see if there was another event scheduled for the forum that night. I wonder if something got canceled to clear the way for this, because it's hard for me to believe that an arena on New Year's Eve weekend there's not something going on.
Yeah,
Perhaps it was an open. Maybe it all just worked out where they had an open date. I think the UFC's lucky they're not in Mobile, Alabama, trying to
that's
pull this off on a week notice.
that's somebody just Abdel just asked in the chat on the YouTube channel. He asked a really good question. If you're Gus and his team, do you negotiate a new contract for the fight? I mean, he would definitely. I would think he has grounds on it too. I mean, that's my opinion.
I don't know. I don't know what the fight's contract says. I don't know if it's so specified that they have to fight in the city in the arena, if it's contracted in that, or if he's just contracted for an event number and an opponent. I'd have to look at the contract to figure that one out. But I would
Yeah,
to be honest, part of me, if I'm Gus, is thinking about maybe even pulling out of the fight altogether. If this is kind of going to be the shenanigans around it, um, maybe I don't know. Obviously, it's a world title fight for him. He wants this fight for years, so that's not going to happen. But it's definitely a got to be a frustrating um,
yeah,
thing for him, of all people. I mean, being a foreigner, um, already halfway across the globe. I mean, Cyborg Nunez are West Coast. Jones is you know New Mexico to west. So it's not necessarily a huge change for those guys, but if you're coming from Australia or you're coming from Sweden or something, it's got to be a damn
yeah.
night.
Well, I mean, I know we were just doing a quick reaction piece, so I mean, I'll let you get back to your Sunday. I was actually going to wrap gifts after I was done writing my piece for Front Proof, so I'm gonna go do that. But geez, well, I guess have a good time, have a good Christmas, and Merry Christmas from the Fight Gods to you. Now you get to go to an event.
Gosh, yeah, I'll take it. And obviously we'll keep in touch, and if anything changes from now till then, we'll jump back on here. But yeah, as usual, everybody can follow this show at Combat Hour on Twitter, myself at MMA Hawk 21 on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow Ed at Carbazol on Twitter and at Carbeerzol on Instagram. Until then, again, everybody, look for our show with our BJJ competition guru, Ray Robles, which I believe is dropping
Christmas
tomorrow
Day.
night. Okay, Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Um, and any other updates that may come between now and New Year's. Until then, Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas, Ed, and I'll talk to you.
All right. Don't take any steroids.
Nope.